Hi, this week on the Varrow method, I want to talk about confidence. Now, if you're a content creator, whether you wrote a short story or you illustrated a picture, a drawing, a painting, or you created a video, it is natural to go back and look at your first attempt and kind of cringe. Our first time is always the worst, right? And it's natural to go back and try to repolish what you created the first time. Or you may have put another project out there that may not have been the first, maybe second or third. But as soon as you put it out there to the public, you start to cringe, you start to worry. Was it good enough? Are people gonna like it? Are they gonna criticize? Well, I get that all the time. And whether I'm publishing a short story or my second novel, which is coming out, I totally get that. But there is one thing that I came across my table, a book that I actually had in my collection for quite a while. And for the longest time, like most readers, you kind of just skip over the foreword and you get right into the story. But for whatever possessed me, I decided to actually sit down and read the foreword by the author. And I'm so glad I did. So at first, let me recommend Fellowship of the Ring. Now, besides it being a good story, which I'll do another video on, the most important thing in here is the foreword by the author JRR Tolkien himself. Now, I do recommend if you can get yourself a copy at your local bookstore or your library, definitely look for the edition that has his foreword when he talks about the process. Now, JRR Tolkien himself is revered in the industry. People hold him to a high standard. He is the father of modern fantasy. So whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering or any kind of movie where a quest starts at a tavern, started here. But what I found interesting, though, was that Tolkien himself, back in the 1930s and 1950s, when he wrote The Hobbit, and then he was continuing the story in what is now the Lord of the Rings, the book, he was actually had the same concerns. Now, you might think this is kind of impossible. The man already is a published author. He's a professor of languages out there at Oxford. He's an established person. Why would he have doubts? But that's human. And that's the thing, that even somebody who wrote a story as amazing as The Lord of the Rings himself had doubts about his work. And in the foreword, he tells you about his story, about how he was writing the Fellowship of the Ring, and the rest of the Two Towers and the Return of the King. And he would share with his contemporaries, and he would often get feedback. Some liked it, some didn't like it, some thought it was too dry. In truth, even the Fellowship of the Ring, there's a lot of history, a lot of lore about the hobbits and the world he's building. So depending on the reader, either you're immersed into it or you think it's just a lot of fluff until you get to the main story. But the fact that somebody as established and well-known and beloved as Tolkien himself had those same concerns and had to work through them, it tells you a lot. That if somebody like him can work through those anxieties and those concerns and imposter syndrome back in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, then us now, in the 21st century, and if this video carries on longer to wherever my audience, whoever you listen to, whatever time period, it is natural. So the thing is, if you're feeling that, you're not alone. If you're out there by yourself and you're wondering, you don't have a writer circle like Tolkien had. He had a group of friends and colleagues he can share his work with, beta readers. If you don't have that, you just have yourself and your own voice in your head, and you're putting your work out there and you're concerned. Just be aware that that is natural, that you're not the only one who feels that way. But the most important thing is you push through. It really ends with you. If you're confident in your work, that you put it out there, then stand by it. And if you're not, then listen to yourself. Listen to your gut. And if you feel like it's not ready, then it's not. My first book out there, there's things I wish I can go back and redo, but you know what? The story carries the way it was. It carries the way it is, and I stand by it. So hopefully this little video here I shot today will help you out with any kinds of issues with confidence or imposter syndrome, to let you know that even if you think you're by yourself, you're not. There's others out there who feel that way, and there's others out there in history who also felt the same way you did, except they didn't have social media. They only had a small circle of people to share that anxiety with, if at all. So hopefully this video here helped you out. I know it does for me, because every time I have that anxiety or any kind of concerns, I go back and just read the foreword, and it just replenishes, my confidence. So, hey, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.